Hey, I'm Liamith,
My name is Jay, and welcome to the Medical Frontier podcast.
where we talk about today's inventions, which are tomorrow's standard of care.
Yeah, so in this episode, we found a new article on medical transplants, specifically organ transplants. And given that they're so important in the medical industry and treating patients, we found that a company with the name of Transmedics has developed a new technology to help deliver organs and just make transplants more efficient and effective for people to use.
Yeah, so when we look at transplants in general, this is something that we always see. I'm sure a lot of our audience is healthcare related individuals. Grey's Anatomy, The Resident on Netflix, all these shows have included this technology in it or showed some sort of aspect of it. So just to dive right in, it's basically a heart in the box perfusion system. And what it does is they basically push blood through the heart to push oxygenated blood through the heart to make it beating again. And essentially, what it's doing is it's beating outside of another person. So it's kind of just existing and it has its own function and it's still functioning fine. It's beating and it's doing everything, but it's just not attached to a human body anymore. And so what this does is usually when we're talking about transplants, it's kind of quick. Like we need to get it out and we need to get it quick because when um when transplanting things such as the heart, it can lead to ischemic damage, right? But when while doing this perfusion system, because we're providing the oxygen with so much blood and keeping it healthy and beating, it's allowing us to have a longer amount of time in between the two transplant patients. And it's also opening up a lot of doors really for in terms of who can be a donor and how healthy the heart needs to be and kind of getting that donor list quickly shortened because at the end of the day in transplants this it's a huge thing. Like I'm sure any of you have seen it. There was recently an episode in The Resident about people buying like organs on the black market just because of how low and less likely it is to get off of the wait list of organs at this point.
There's a huge market and like a huge um like legal battle as well, I would say, with this whole field of medicine, especially when it comes to transplants. And you said it really well, like how it prevents like ischemic damage, especially if you have like organs like these, like the heart, lungs, liver, thoracic organs like that, which are really vulnerable to outside environments. You described it really well. So I found that actually Transmedics, like what they did here with the heart in a box technology with the OCS care system, is that yeah. So they said it was like the biggest or one of the biggest breakthroughs in the transplant field since like the '60s and '70s, especially when it comes to heart transplants, since that's like kind of the time when they first started, looking into ways to heal patients that have heart troubles and things like that. So even though this technology has been in the works for a while, like the amount of technology that's in there, like Liamith was saying, to help perfuse the organs with oxygenated and also nutrient rich blood is what's really keeping transmedics a really forward mover in medical transplants.
Yeah, because as I was saying, like usually when we're talking about that time, that gap period where the organ needs to be transferred to the new patient, transplanted to the new patient, it's usually 4 to 6 hours with traditional methods. Now with this new heart in the box treatment and with this heart perfusion, it's up to 12 hours or more, which is nearly double. And it's not only just that time, time is money in healthcare. If you buy yourself more time, that's more distance to be traveled. That's more places, that's more viable hospitals who have an organ donor for somebody else. And it's in terms of um in terms of professors and in terms of doctors, how do they view this, Jay? Like what's their take on this? Because obviously it could be there's pros and cons to everything, right? No matter how good we say something is. So what's an expert's view of it?
Experts would, like they would agree exactly with what we're saying, because like you were saying, like more time is money in healthcare. So expanding it from around 4 to 6 hours to 12 hours. That's a huge amount of time. So 12 hours with this new technology, like you said, means they can go to, more hospitals that maybe have like more intensive care units for, people that need the heart or other transplants as well, like lung transplants, liver transplants, and whatnot. It just makes it more available for them to go to specialized care hospitals. That's mostly what doctors would have to say about this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think following up what you were saying, so going back to talking about the ischemic damage that could happen to a heart, so Dr. Richard Daly, a cardiovascular surgeon at Mayo Clinic, he was the one who I was referring to when I said that. So he mentioned that the technology could lead to better outcomes for transplant recipients because the heart is less likely to suffer ischemic damage, which is a risk when the organ is deprived of oxygen during transport. So what we're doing is we're giving the organ oxygen through this perfusion. So it's closely eliminating that risk. And in terms of the discarded donor hearts as well, as I was talking about, time is money and money is distance, and it's all these different factors that play into this. Many potential viable hearts that we don't really think about are discarded, and they aren't used because they can't reach the recipient in time.
Hmm.
But by extending the time that the heart can be kept viable, more patients on that waiting list that I said could receive the organs that they need. So it's not just like, okay, this one heart could go to another person, but it's a chain reaction, because if this person on the waiting list gets a heart, then they won't be taking a heart away from somebody else. And we'll have better healthcare and better access to so many individuals. Their lives would be saved and their lives would be completely changed by just by this technology. And some of those people on the waiting list, obviously there's a priority, right? Who needs it more at the end of the day, who's at risk, who's at the end of their life, who's at the beginning of their life, pre-existing health conditions and whatnot. But it's still, like, on that waiting list, it matters. Time is money. At the same time, there's a reason that they're on that list, right? Because their heart is not functioning enough to the point where they can sustain themselves of life. So every second that they're on that waiting list, every second that they don't get another heart, they're just worsening their condition. So, and even if they do end up getting a transplant, if they get a transplant sooner than later, that's obviously going to impact them, because it's not, at the end of the day, it's one organ transplant, but one organ affects the whole body. So it could affect damage to other organs, and there's just so many things that could be affected just if this one thing if this technology wasn't there.
Yeah, you could say that like hundreds of more times and still would hold the same relevance. I found a few stats on, exactly how much more hearts are being used through this technology. So I found that actually 2 to 3 out of 10 donated thoracic organs like the heart, lungs, and liver are actually able to be used for transplant. So that gives you like six, seven, eight of these organs that actually can't be used. So when we look at heart specifically, that's 30% more hearts that are more useful because of the OCS technology by Transmedics. And like we were talking about, there's with the original care that they had for heart transplants before they came out with Heart in a Box, they just used like a normal cooler. Like they had ice.
Yeah.
They would put the heart, they would put lungs, they would put livers, they would put all these organs, vulnerable organs. They would just have it in an ice box, like in a cooler, like we use
Yeah.
on our day-to-day
I mean,
lives.
you can see in those shows, it's the tiny red ice coolers
It's
with the
literally,
two
yeah,
handles from the helipad that they run down and take into the operating rooms.
exactly. Yeah, it's just one of those coolers, and they used to have these vulnerable organs in there before Transmedics came out with the OCS, and so ischemia was a really big issue. And then also with the old technology, with just having a normal cooler, there was always no organ optimization capabilities. So like they couldn't perfuse the organs with blood, oxygenated, nutrition wise as well. So they had no optimization for the organs. They also had no organ viability. They can assess how viable the organ was because there was no actual technology within those coolers, monitoring the status of how that organ's doing. Is a heart beating properly? Is there enough blood going through? What's the temperature of the blood type? are the lungs, are they receiving air properly? Are they being used to their full capacity and whatnot? So there's no able way to assess if those organs were being used properly or not. But with the OCS, they have like like a computer on the side of it. If we could pull up a picture too, somehow
Mm-hmm.
here, that would be really useful. They have like a little screen that's on the top of the heart in a box with like a little class, like a clear plastic window that shows you exactly what's going on inside, measures like BPM, heart rate, pulse, and everything like that. And so 30 to 35% of post transplant complications happened before OCS came out. And so now with the new technology that Transmedics has, it's allowed for significant improvement in clinical outcomes for patients that are dealing with or that are in need of organ transplants.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. And I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can pull up this image. I think this is what you were talking about. I don't
Yeah,
know
that's
if I can
exactly what I
zoom
was
out of
talking about.
this or not.
Yeah, so the little computer we see on the left side, it's got all the information as to how like the organ is being perfused, how it's functioning right now. Something to keep in mind that's really, really interesting is that the way the organ is moving inside the machine is exactly how it would move, if it was inside a human body. It's like there's basically no difference as to because it's temperature moderated, like the blood is moderated, oxygen flow is moderated, nutrition is
Mm-hmm.
moderated. Everything that's in this machine is basically how it would be functioning. That's inside a human body. So it's really a breakthrough in this field.
Yeah, I think it's very very good to know. And even Dr. John Stolok, I mean, he's again a very respected individual. He's a doctor at Mayo Clinic, and he emphasized that it's a game changer. With better success rates and fewer complications, this technology could reduce the overall costs associated with organ failure. Plus, it improves the quality of life for patients, which is obviously the ultimate goal. And as I was saying previously, right, being on that waiting list for long obviously affects your quality of life. Um, ton of people, unfortunately, don't end up receiving that organ that they need while on that waiting list, and it costs them their lives. And I think this heart in the box system is truly something that they're thinking about implementing into other scenarios as well, and for lungs and whatnot. And I think that I think there was a story that that really piqued both of our interests. Do you wanna add on to what that story was and what it all entailed and the success behind that?
Yeah, for sure. It was really wholesome to read, actually. So, there was an article also by Mayo Clinic about a couple from Lake Havasu City in Arizona that just recently celebrated their 50th anniversary on Valentine's Day, and they were able to do that because the husband was able to get, his heart transplanted using heart in a box technology by Transmedics. So it just warms my heart. No joke intended there. Seeing that, people are really being like seeing like the true impact right in front of our eyes as to how
Yeah.
this technology is impacting couples around the world and improving quality of life for so many people.
Yeah, and I think that's again, this is unrelated directly to the transplant thing, but the beauty of healthcare in a sense, with each medical advancement, with each new step, it just eases the quality of life, and it eases a lot of stress out of a lot of people's shoulders, and helps a lot of people just in more ways than one. And this is seriously cutting edge stuff, and it's insane to see that this is just as we talked last week about the Alzheimer's drug that was there, and that helps slow down the cognitive decline. We have something here that can slow down the deterioration of those who have poor organs and can get them off the waitlist quicker, make more organs viable, and it's a constant, ever-changing field, and really, really cool to see it firsthand and see all these different articles come out and all these different success stories, as you said, and yeah.
For sure, yeah, and it's really cool that Transmedics, they call these like this group of technology that they've made the OCS, which stands for Organ Care System. So they have an OCS for the lungs, they have an OCS for the heart, and they also have OCS for the liver. And these machines are actually like the first of their class that have been FDA approved for multi-organ platform technology for organ transplants. which is
Oh
really cool.
wow. Yeah, so yeah, as you said, they have one for the lung already.
And for the liver too.
And for the liver, yeah. So yeah, so over 91% patient survival 1 year post transplant
hmm
for a lung transplant. That's very successful.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
They're always, looking into more like stuff they can do for other organs and other parts of the body. They've been doing, research into this for 25 years, the company I was talking about, Transmedics. So it's really cool to see, the effect that, all their research has been um, coming down to in these moments, helping couples like them in Arizona,
Yeah.
with the care that they need properly.
Yeah, and even on their lung website, they had one of 20 plus hours in a successful retrieval and transplant from Hawaii to North Carolina. Is for the
Insane.
lungs. Like
Insane.
that is nearly across the world. It is across the world.
It literally
And
is like halfway across the world. It's fully
yeah.
portable too. It's fully portable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the only FDA approved device for both standard and expanded criteria donor lungs for transportation.
hmm
Yeah, so this is it's a huge thing. Wow. I have some more stats here about the success rate.
Yeah, I was
If I
looking into
can.
their Transmedics national OCS program. So they have um, a whole program that they've made that's specifically for like physicians and healthcare practitioners to learn about
Mhm.
more technology that they're doing. Uh,
Mhm.
they also have like links to contact them to learn more and you know to learn more about their FDA approved technology and transferring clinical practices of donor organ procurement and just basically to learn more about what they do and how they develop this technology.
Yeah, and I think as you said, having that computer and having all that information on hand and monitoring all what's going on within the heart, and rather it just be in a cooler, like it provides a huge opportunity for a lot of people to get impacted and a lot of lives to be saved. And I think it's really great that another case of medical advancement saving many lives and helping those have a better quality of life as well.
Mhm.
um, yeah, I think it's a great um, revolutionary advancement, and I think that we'll definitely see a lot more in the transplant field. And hopefully, the next step, as they said, was to completely make make organs um, viable to use for transplant that otherwise would not have been viable to use.
Mhm.
I forgot exactly what the terms were, but it was in one of these articles. But yeah, so that's their next step, supporting the recovery of non-beating hearts, and yeah, it's great to see that, and I think this was a great conversation and a great discussion that we had. I understand that this was one of our shortest episodes, even though this is our only second one. But we're kind of testing things out, and if you guys have anything you guys want us to talk about, any feedback, just feel free to drop it in the comments below.
Mhm.
And anything to say? Any last minute
Exactly.
words?
Yeah, this was really insightful for us to research and provide to as a podcast forum to you guys. We learned a lot doing this, and we also have an Instagram account that we launched, and we'll be putting the link to that in the description. So if you guys would like to follow that, follow our journey in this podcast, and learn more about medical technology, consider following that. And yeah, this was a really good conversation. I will definitely be doing more research into transmedics and following their journey along as well to see what new technologies that they come out with to help patients and save lives.
Yeah, for sure. I think we'll definitely be looking on the lookout for more medical advancements. If there's anything you guys want us to talk about, I mean, I think that we could talk about MRIs next episode. We could talk about how those work, the different magnets, different strengths like that. We can talk about a variety of things. Again, it's
Yeah.
all up to you guys. Just to inform. That's what we're here to do.
hmm
Thank you guys for listening once again, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much.